welcome to Zain Live, where everything is discussed and nothing is censored. Today, joining us is a Hollywood actor. We've seen him in movies like Escape Plan, Star Trek, the Marvel Cinematic Universes, Iron Man, and also one of my favorite movies, Jinn. Today, joining us from the United States, Faran Tahir. Welcome to our show, Farhan. This is Zain Khan. It is such a pleasure having you on our show.
It is my pleasure. Thank you so much for thinking of me. And here we are, and let's have some fun.
I want to get to the first question, and you're a Hollywood actor, and I always wondered this. Um, why does the Hollywood film industry surpass other film industries regarding their budget and their quality of work? What qualities does the Hollywood film industry have?
I think part of it is that Hollywood has been making movies for actually over 100 years. I mean, the first movie was, I think, in 1915 that came out. So it has been around for a long time, and they've been able to iron out a lot of the kinks that other industries might be facing right now. So I think that's part of it. And the other thing is that Hollywood has successfully been able to explore all the genres. So you have comedy, you have sci-fi, you have action, heist, you name it and they have it. So what that does is that it pulls in all different kinds of audiences, and it doesn't matter the age, the ethnic group, the culture, the country. So I think that's the main reason that Hollywood has done so well, because they've been around for a long time, and also because they have been able to successfully explore all different genres.
Farhan, you're now a Hollywood star, but your dad, your father, was a Pakistani media industry icon. So why did you choose a new industry rather than staying in the Pakistani industry?
Well, look, I mean, I think it's the sense of adventure that we all should always hold on to. Yes, my I've been very fortunate that I come from a family that has been steeped in the arts in Pakistan, and we've tried to contribute to the best of our ability. And I think for me, it was a question of, well, let's see if we can go out and explore other frontiers, because it's important. It's important to pit ourselves against other people and see where we stand and try to bring our A game to the table, and see what we can get out of that. So I think that was basically my instinct. And again, and the other thing on a very personal level was, because my family is so well established, one of the things that I thought, and this might not be true for other people, uh, but I also wanted to see, what is my merit? Am I getting this work because we are established in the industry? Or am I getting this work because I have something to offer? And that all has changed. But in the beginning, that was also part of my thinking. I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder.
Speaking of being a self-made man or being independent, as you've just mentioned, you've made it in the industry. What is your message to all the struggling actors across the globe who are right now struggling as being actors or struggling in the industry? What's your motivational message for them? What is your advice to them?
My advice is always the same. It's an advice that I follow in my life, which is, you should never let go of your dreams. But at the same time, you should always be ready to work as hard as it needs to be to achieve those dreams. I think dreaming is one thing, but turning them into a reality takes a lot of work. So in my case, my dream was to become an actor, and I ended up doing it in a different country. So my challenges were a little different than other people's. My challenges in Pakistan would be different than what they were here. One of the challenges was that, I am not, well, I mean, I'm for all practical purposes, I am an immigrant. Although I was born here, but I'm basically an immigrant. And I wanted to make sure that I could turn all the no's that come my way into yeses. So I went out and got my training. I did everything that I could to make sure that I had all the abilities that might be required of me. Yes, beyond that, if I don't get a role because they're looking for a specific look or a specific age or a specific ethnic group, then I can't change that. But what I can change is my ability to provide the merit when it's needed.
Okay, let's dig in more into your career. Let's start digging into your career. What was your first official Hollywood movie?
My first Hollywood movie was Jungle Book. I think that was in 1997, 96. Oh, no, no, actually earlier than that. Anyway, that was my first movie. It was a live action Jungle Book. I played Mowgli's father in it. I was fresh out of college. This was, I think I just got my master's in performing arts like a year ago, a year and a half ago. I was doing an off-Broadway show, and the casting director came and saw me, and that's how it all happened. The experience was amazing because it was my first big movie. I learned a lot, just little things. I mean, the language or the terms that you use on the set, I was still new to them. So to be able to be part of that and to be able to work with some really wonderful actors, it raises your game and makes you want to do better than you think you can. So to me, it was an amazing experience, which will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Farhan, you've been part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You've been part of the MCU. You've played Raza in Iron Man. Tell us a little more about your experience in the MCU.
Well, my experience was, again, I've been fortunate that I've had some really wonderful experiences, and specifically that one was really something that I will never forget, and I'll tell you why. Because when Iron Man came out, that was the first flagship movie that the Marvel Studios or the Marvel company took on as their project. They had a distribution deal with Paramount, but they were making this movie on their own. Um, so they really wanted to get it right, and they did something which was amazing, and I think paid off in the long run. Was that the director that they hired, Robert Downey Jr. As an actor, Jeff Bridges as an actor. These are wonderful actors, but action and superhero genre was not their genre. So they also wanted to prove that they could do it. And that brought about this very strange and wonderful openness on everybody's part, whether it was the producers or the writers or the director or the actors. We all got together, and our focus was to make this movie the best movie that we could. And because of that, a lot of dialogue happened between us. And I think through that dialogue, we were able to evolve the movie into a much better experience than it would have been otherwise.
When I look at your career, I see big roles. I see Escape Plan, where you're working with Hollywood legends like Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. We see your role in Star Trek. We see you in the MCU. But I want to talk about one of my personal favorite movies, The Jinn. Tell us a little more about your experience there, and how was it working in such a dark movie and on such a dark subject? And do you agree with the whole doctrine of jinn in that movie? Tell us a little more about your experience in that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jin was a fascinating subject to explore, because I mean, even in our culture, even in our faith, the mention of Jin is very frequent. So I think it was a subject that needed to be explored. I will leave it up to the audience how much they liked it. I mean, you liked it, which is wonderful, and I thank you. Uh, because it is a tricky subject, because it's supernatural, so it might not be everybody's cup of tea, which is fine. But we try to do we try to do as much justice as we could to the piece. Beyond that, I will leave it up to the audience, as I always do. They're the judges of the work that we do. Our job is to do the best that we can, and then leave it up to the audience whether they like it or not. And whether if they like it, wonderful. If they don't like it, that's also their right.
Okay, till now we were talking about all your good experiences. Let's talk about the other side of the industry. I want to know if you've had any bad experiences in your Hollywood career. Was there anything as Islamophobia, or did you ever face any racism? Does it even exist in Hollywood? Tell us a little more about that.
Of course it does. Look, I mean, in any business, there are good experiences and there are bad experiences. I've had my share. Besides all the struggles of being an actor, which is a whole other thing. As far as bad experiences are concerned, yes, there were a couple of times when I've read scripts which really sounded that they were not being honest to the subject matter, and the agenda was more to bash a certain group of people, whether it's Muslims or some other group. So when that happens, when it becomes gratuitous, uh, my rule is that not all work is good work. Yes, I will take on roles which are sometimes negative and try to find something that anchors the character in something that's real and audiences can identify with. But I won't do work which is just to promote hate, because that is not what I want to be doing. So I've had a few of those experiences. I've also had experiences with a couple of directors who had really huge egos, and it became about their ego rather than about the work. When that happens, I have two choices. Either I can politely tell them that that's what's happening, or I withdraw and I just wait until they say action. I do my work and then I leave. But yes, there have been some bad experiences. If I weigh good versus bad, the good experiences went out, hands down. But you do need to be able to deal with some of the negative experiences that you have, because I think dealing with those negative experiences actually make you grow, because you start to realize who you are, where you are, and what your beliefs are.
Let's get to the last question. Tell us a little more about your future projects, and is Faran Tahir planning to have any projects in Pakistan?
So yeah, I just finished an animated movie which I'm very excited about. It's about a Syrian refugee girl who meets, in her dreams, meets the poet Rumi, because at the age of 11 he was also escaping from atrocities being committed in Iraq by the Mongols. So it has a beautiful message of how to turn hate into love, because the only way you can ever get rid of hate is answering it with love. So I'm very excited about that movie. That comes out. There are a couple of other movies that are in the pipeline. Once I I have the contract signed, I'll let you know. Uh, and as far as Pakistan is concerned, look, Pakistan is my country. I come from there. I would love to work there. My only requirement is that it should be a good script, something that challenges me, that gets me excited, and also one of the things that the logistics work out. But yes, I mean, if and there have been offers that I've received from Pakistan, and it hasn't worked out so far because of one thing or the other. But I'm hoping that yes, I do want to work in Pakistan. I want to learn from Pakistani artists, and hopefully, I can also share some of the things that I've learned, because we need to bridge these gaps. It's important that we start working across ponds, no matter where we live, because we need to tell good stories, and good stories are not limited by geographical boundaries.
Thank you so much, Faran Tahir, for being on Zain Khan Live. It was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being on the program, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
This was Farhan Tahir, a Hollywood actor joining us from the United States. We were talking about his career, his experiences in Hollywood, and also his current and future projects. Until the next episode of Zain Khan Live, keep on watching Zain Khan Live. This is Zain Khan. Take care and goodbye.